Raleigh, South Carolina, running an ART-13, receiving on a ARR-15 R105. And with running about 3715.19. Looks like something has changed here a little bit. I gotta move the dial. That's what it was. Anyhow, it's been overcast all yesterday, and today it started off pretty dark out there. And we had
0.23 inches of rain overnight and into this morning. So we're gaining a little bit on our deficit, and hopefully we will in the next day or two clear some of that deficit out with the upcoming rain that we're supposed to get. And so I've been getting an email from Don Woodard about his ART-13. I wonder if anybody knows him and is aware of what he's doing with his transmitter. But it sounds like he's got it pretty much cured now. He had a bad 811, which is pulling his power supply down. So with that, we will turn it over to George. And oh, by the way, all signals are very strong this morning. Your signal, Dave, is quite strong. Not a bit of, well, I'm getting a little sideband noise because of this, the broadness of this receiver, but, and I don't get that on the R390. I don't get any sideband pickup, but this one I do. So we will turn it over to K4 GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK is Group K4 GDN, and by the way, I'm only running 5 watts, and I'm a KC high. I'm locked down. I'm using a crystal that it's marked 3715, but it's really 3716 for some reason, which is one that Fritz used to use all the time, and he was always high. So again, I'm only running 5 watts. This is the homebrew transmitter. And I'm going to do a little bit more the next time around, just wanted to see if I could get out with it. And Buddy the modulator is the one I got for you, the 25 watt 6L6 modulator. And my output feature is a 6L6 being driven by a 6AG7. I'll talk a little bit more about this the next time around. So I believe that that's going to,
K4 GDN is WB4NKL. Okay, George, I copy your, I think you said 5 watts, and copied you, not real strong, but copied, I think, everything you said. A good deal on the homebrew 6L6. Maybe you can squeeze a little more power out of it. It should be good for a little more than 5 watts, I would think. 49 degrees here also, Steve, and got some light rain. They're talking about rain and changing to snow tomorrow. I don't know, it's a weird forecast. I don't know if they know what they're talking about. I guess it depends on when the cold temperatures get here, whether it's rain or snow. Running the ART-13 again this morning. Been working on some Globe Kings, and I got one of them back on the air. I run it on the other net this morning, but I thought I'd come back over here on the ART-13 for this net, since it's already tuned up and ready to go. So, light crowd, I don't know where everybody's at. I'll send it on back to you. N4LQ, WB4NKL.
All right, I've got Don, N4YN, and then I heard Greg, KF4 DRN in there. I'm not sure. It was sort of weak. But anyway, Don, go ahead and then try turning it over to DRN, N4LQ.
Okay. I think I'm on the air mostly. Oh, well, I'm not. Hello. Oh, I'll quit. Retuning everything from the other net, running Kit T150 transmitter and the R100 receiver, so I can get at least 2 or 3 conversations at once here if anybody's close. Other than that, not much. About 44 degrees. It's gone up a degree and still foggy here. But having a good time. Running your favorite antenna, Steve, half wave end fed. Still, it hadn't blown up. I'm surprised it survived the hurricane and the winds and everything else. It's just a piece of wire, but it's hanging together real well. So let's see, I got, I think KF4 DRN, I hope. The DRN part's right. I don't know about the prefix. Anyway, go ahead, N4YN.
N4YN, KF4, DRN. Thought I'd get in here and check in this morning and say hello to everybody. And Cliff, I'm waiting on my neighbor to get down here when he gets here. Maybe a half hour whenever he gets here. And then we'll head on up the road there. But anyway, I want to pass that along to you. I guess Steve got it next. I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, KF4 DRN.
All right, you got it right. KF4 DRN, N4LQ. Yeah, real good. I see I drifted a little bit. It's always good to drift a little bit, not a whole lot. Drifting's okay, but jumping, that can get confusing. Let's see. I wonder if anybody else would like to join us. This is N4LQ listening for additional check-ins.
W4MEC.
I wonder where you was. W4MEC, and then back to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, N4LQ in the group, W4MEC. Good morning, fellas. Sorry I'm late, and just taking my time here this morning. And got in everything warmed up when George was transmitting, and got a pretty good copy on him. I'm wondering if his 5 watts are feeding his 200 watt amplifier, but we had a good solid copy on him. So apparently it rained. It did rain overnight. My SWR was up, but that's usually an indicator of a wet antenna. But so far, so good. Back to you, Steve. N4LQ, W4MEC.
Yeah, okay, Charlie. Well, had a good time last night on 160, on 1864, and later on I saw a big carrier up the band, and it was K4KYV, Don, and so I went up there and got him, and we talked for a good half hour or so. And the band was in fair condition, but he was on his vertical, and a little QSB every now and then, but not too serious. So I got to thinking about doing some more AM again on 160 since the conditions have improved, not so much static and all that kind of stuff. So maybe if you think about it, look around the shack, see if you can figure out how to get on 160 AM. And we talked about possibly starting AM at 7:30 in the evening, and then switching over to sideband, or vice versa or whatever. Just batting ideas around. Suggestions would be interesting to hear. Well, I'm on the loop antenna, Don, the horizontal loop, and at night I switch over to 160 and I feed it as a in-fed random length thing with the feed line going vertical about 80 some feet, and then the loop is acting as a top load, and it does a pretty good job. I don't think it's quite as good as the in-fed half wave that got tore down during Helene, but it's still pretty good. And Don, real fine on your T150. I guess you're barefoot. I don't know. Sounds good. George, your signal's above the noise level, and at the time it was 100% copyable. Not sure how long that'll last, but you're getting out anyway for that 6L6. I'd like to see a picture of that. Why don't you send me a picture or post it on the Old Friends Net? Matter of fact, I'd like to see pictures. I'd like to see more pictures of everything you guys have got. It would be fun to pass those around. And Greg, good to hear you this morning. You're sounding good. Got you tuned in here. No problem at all. So I guess we'll turn it back around for another round. WA4LLR N4LQ.
Alrighty. N4LQ and the group WA4LLR. Well, fine business. Let's see here. Everybody's sounding good, George. 100% copy on your 5-watt homebrew. So it's certainly making the trip up here into the mountains of North Carolina. And good morning to you, Charlie. Good to hear you today. Let's see. Space weather's pretty calm. Sunspot count's 94. Solar flux index is 173 and the K is 2.33. So not a whole lot going on there. And good deal on the 160 conditions. And the possibility of running AM and sideband. Man, I've usually got something going on about the time everybody is on 160, but hopefully I can sneak in a few times here before long. A few items on this day in history. On this day in 1768, the first edition of Encyclopedia Britannica was published. Man, I didn't realize it went back that far. On this day in 1830, American poet Emily Dickinson was born. On this day in 1967, Otis Redding passed away in an airplane crash. Most of us probably remember sitting on the dock of the bay. On this day in 1901, the first Nobel Prizes were distributed, marking the 5th anniversary of the death of Swedish industrialist and inventor Alfred Nobel, who invented dynamite. On this day in 1884, Mark Twain's novel Huckleberry Finn was first published. On this day in 1851, Melville Dewey was born, the man who blessed us with the Dewey Decimal System for classifying our library classification. On this day in 1815, English mathematician Ada Lovelace was born, who was known as the first computer programmer. So that's a few items from this day in history. A lot of propane work going on, so that's where I'll be today once we get out of here and get started. So, buddy, back down to you this morning. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave, very interesting this day in history information. That Don Woodward is KD4APP. That's his call. I haven't looked it up. I'm not sure where he's located or anything about that. But apparently he's got at least one ART-13, maybe two. And so, well, we still have rain coming down. It's quite foggy, and actually it was more foggy a little earlier. But I'm curious about your modulator. Are you using the modulator that I sold you some years ago with that 5-watt rig? Just curious about that. You said it was a 6L6, and that's what the one I had was. So, and I know you still had it some time back, George. I'm pretty sure you did. So just curious about that. And so I guess we will turn it over to you for another transmission. K4GDN, WB4ARK.
And the microphone is ceramic 350. The transmitter was built by Lee, DWD, probably well over 20 years ago. And it's a finger control. It uses plug-in coils on 80 and 40 meters. The one that you go into for it. I've had it on the DWD before using a VFO or maybe another crystal. Like I said before, this is a 6AG7 oscillator using a capacitive couple for 6L6. And the voltage of the 6L6 is not all that high, maybe 300 volts or so. So that's probably why I'm only getting out about 5 watts. But that's the situation here. As I say, it's a single control. The loading capacitors are just fixed. And they change with, when you go from 40 to 80 meters with the plug-in coils. The coils are wide so that you pick up another capacitor with the plug-in 80 meters. But I picked up everybody pretty well except for that other station that pulled out. I'm supposed to get some more today. Right now it's in the low 60s, so it's just kind of crazy, but it's supposed to get cold later on. So let's see. You have to do an NKL on the group K4GDN.
Yeah, K4GDN, it's WB4NKL. Okay, George, 100% copy on that. So that's band's in pretty good shape to be able to copy you with 5 watts today. Say hello to Greg and welcome you down to this net, and yeah, I'll got a copy there that you go and head out when your friend shows up. So I'll be around here all morning, Greg, so whenever you get up, be fine. Don't have too much else going here. Dave, I was glad you got your antenna back up and sounding good this morning on the ART-13. And buddy, I don't recognize the the call, or the guy that he's talking about, has got the ART-13s. Maybe we'll hear him on the air here if he gets one of them going. Got a friend in Knoxville that had got a hold of a couple, and he's working on a power supply. He sent me some questions about transformers, so I'm sure he'll be on Steve down there. I can't remember his call, but I'm sure he'll be on the old military net with it. He always checks into that, so I don't know if we'll get him over here or not, but there's a lot of those ART-13s floating around. So send it on to Don. Don, you sounding good on the T-150, N4YN, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff. Let's see. I'm on the wrong antenna. That's why. Okay. Hello. Operator error here. Mostly. Anyway, I don't get on this frequency much, so I'm having fun with my adjusting the SWR, running a little bit high, but tube stuff don't care much. Let's see, Steve, I'm looks like about 20 watts on idle and runs up to close to 100 on peaks with this goofy modulation, screen modulated night kit. Happened to look at the boards on the R100 and it said copyright 1957. I'm surprised some of this junk still works, but doesn't work as good as everybody else's. I couldn't pick out most of what George is saying. Maybe a little bit noisier location or something. Where I tried on the good receiver. I got a 991 up here. I couldn't hear him on it either. So I guess it's either location or noise around the QTH maybe. Let's see now. I forgot who it goes to. I'll try. Just turn it to Steve and oh no, wait a minute. KF4DRN, yep, alright. My one brain cell woke up there. Go ahead, N4YN.
Yeah, Greg, DRN, you still with us? Well, he's disappeared. Oh, yeah, okay, so go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, let's see, N4LQ, N4YN, W4MEC. Yeah, he mentioned something about somebody was showing up, waiting for somebody, and they were taking off, so maybe he bugged out of here. Okay. Let's see, I remember that transmitter of Lee's there, 2 tubes there, and I didn't realize it had a fixed loading capacitor, and wonder why he did that. He probably, when he built it, he probably didn't have a load cap, so he just put some fixed ones in there. But maybe it was designed that way. I don't know. But it's kind of odd for that. So let's see. Dewey Decimal System. I guess they don't even use that anymore. I wouldn't think that when they transitioned over to computer-based library stuff, they kept that, but maybe they did. I never really thought about it. I know you go to the library, if you want a book, you just go in their computer and type in the name of it, and it'll bring it up and tell you where it is. So, but anyway, see the 160 meter AM. It sounds interesting. I need to. I've got the DX100B. I got that specifically for 160 AM, but I need to look it over once. I did have it on the air, and I think it's got an audio issue because it took every bit of my mic gain to get 100% modulation. So or maybe it was modified, maybe it wants a amplified D104. I don't know. That's the only thing wrong with it that I noticed was the amount of audio it needed for mic, and solve that problem, and then get it's married up with the receiver I got from Cliff, the 100 there. So we got a station for that also. But if you switch to sideband, I can go run in the house to get on sideband, so I don't have any 160 meter. I don't have any sideband rig out there right now. My Heathkit 401 301 station is still a work in progress amongst everything else. So, and I actually have, even though it doesn't do 160, I have a Dentron 160 meter transverter that runs 100 watts. So we'll see what that does. Let's see. Down to me, so I'm still tail end Charlie here. So N4LQ W4MEC.
I was trying to figure out what that weird little carrier was. It started high and it came down on us, and then it went back up. And when you let off the mic, I could still see it on the SDR over here, but of course I couldn't hear it on the HQ 110. This N4LQ, do we have any late check-ins?
K4JAL.
Well, better late than never, or better Nate than lever, whatever. Jimmy, go ahead and make one and then turn it back to me.
N4LQ, K4JAL. Well, here I am late again. I just put a new Windows 11 computer over here at the house to run this rig, and I've had one heck of a time with it. Just got it going. Wouldn't run my old Dell computer. I've had a time. Don't convert to Windows 11 computers unless you have to. N4LQ, K4JAL.
Okay, well, I waited for at least a year before I converted, and I did, and I haven't had one bit of problem with it. It just worked, so I'm not sure if it's the computer or what it is there, Jimmy. So Charlie will turn it over to Jimmy next time, I guess. Well, I was trying to listen to George, and I copied him okay on the 110. I switched over to be sure the SDR. The SDR is feeding up to YouTube, and I've forgotten and left it on sideband mode, so I probably messed up a bunch of the video, but had it back on AM trying to copy George, and it wasn't worth a hoot, and I had to switch back over to the old Hammerlin, and it did much better. This SDR stuff on AM is just not all what it's cracked up to be, I'll tell you. And I've had a bunch of them, and the old tube type receivers, they demodulate the signal better, and I'm not sure why a simple diode, and it's all there is to it, can demodulate the signal so much better than a highly sophisticated Windows 11 computer. Anyway, so you're doing fine, Jimmy, and good to hear you this morning. And Dave, that was interesting. Kind of ironic, I think. Nobel, the Nobel Peace Prize guy, invented dynamite. That's an explosive topic. Maybe you can expound on that. I didn't know it. Well, let's see. 20 watts from the T150. Sounds good. Yeah, I can tell it's, screen modulated or control carrier. The S meter kind of flutters as you speak, but the sound is fine. No problem at all copying. It's plenty strong. Don, you're S9 Plus, and it's good to hear some variety here. And Dewey Decimal System, that's one thing I don't know anything about, so maybe you can tell us what that is. It just doesn't add up to me. Over to you, Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
Doesn't add up. N4LQ, WA4LLR. Well, of course, the Dewey Decimal System is the library numbering system that will give you an idea of where to find a book. And Charlie, you're talking about whether or not they used it since everything's computerized. I've not been to the library in so long that I don't even know if they've still got the numbers on the books. I guess they do. But anyway, yeah, that's interesting about Alfred Nobel, the father of dynamite, coming up with the Nobel Prizes. His estate funded that prize in perpetuity, I reckon. But I don't know if that was a pang of guilt or why. Of course, it's not just peace prizes. There's a Nobel Prize in physics, medicine, literature, on and on and on. But it would be interesting to know the mindset of him coming up with that prize. So, you know, the 1901 was the 5th anniversary of his death, and that's when they gave the first. And then, of course, a couple of years later, I think it was 1903, Madame Curie and her husband were awarded the Nobel Prize for their work with radium and so on and so forth. So, yeah, a lot of different kinds of Nobel Prizes out there. Well, I don't have a lot more here. I guess I actually better get upstairs and try to get some work going today. But I've enjoyed it this morning. Steve, thanks for calling. Hope everybody has a blessed day and stay warm and dry. They've got snow in the forecast for us in the morning, but based on the predicted temperatures, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll see. So, everybody take care, Lord willing. We will look for you on Thursday morning. WB4ARK, WA4LLR, 73, folks.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave. Well, Steve, you must be running some wide selectivity to be hearing all of those sidebanders and that frequency going up and down. I heard that too. But selectivity on this ARR15 is pretty wide, so, and that's the reason, obviously. Well, the Alfred Nobel, he was manufacturing nitroglycerin, which is what dynamite is made from. And he, it was either his brother or his son that was killed in an explosion of nitroglycerin. And so he began looking for a safer way to manufacture, or not manufacture nitroglycerin, but to manufacture a product that would be safe, more safe than just plain nitroglycerin. And so they used wood pulp, and they used fuller's earth, and they used several different ingredients to mix with the nitroglycerin to calm it down, so to speak. But he came up with the idea and patented that, and that became the standard for mines and other uses throughout the country. Yeah, very interesting person. I've done a lot of research on explosives over the years. Well, I won't say that. Anyhow, we had a lot of interest in explosives when I was at Charlotte College, and when it moved out to its new campus, which then became UNCC at Charlotte. But we had a nice chemistry professor that he would let us make various like gun cotton. He wouldn't go past gun cotton. He would let us do that, but anyhow, it was a good time in my life, and so that's the interest in explosives. Well, I'm going to say 73, and it's been a great net today. And thanks for calling the net, Steve. It's been very nice. We'll look forward to Thursday. So I could not copy George's last transmission when he first came on. The band conditions changed, and I didn't hear if George said that the modulator was the one that I sold him or not. So maybe if he could try to repeat that, it would be interesting. K4GDN WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, the group code for GDN, and if you're copying, I am using that modulator, Betty. That was the console, was one that Lee Miller, I think I got it through you. I believe he sent it through you along with the power machine in the fifth one. I believe that's the case. I want to really just so rubber for the radio stuff to put on a little bit more power with it. But instead, trying to get this over there. I think everybody's pretty much okay. I'm on the 8.05 AM as far as the receiver's concerned. So, let's see, where do I go? I think I go to Chris. WB4 NKL of the group. Oh, and by the way, Steve, thanks for calling in. And thanks everybody for all the reports on this thing. Maybe there's a little bit of hum in the background, but anyway. So Chris coming to you, WB4 NKL, K4GDN.
I believe he turned it back to me, K4GDN, WB4NKL. George, you dropped back into the blow my noise floor. That time I could tell you were in there, but couldn't understand any of it. So just the band conditions are changing. Good deal on the dynamite. My great granddad was killed in a dynamite explosion. He was a dynamite man for the rock quarry over here, and back in the 30s, and I heard my dad talk about that deal. But I guess it was a good tool, but dangerous also. I guess I'll say 73s, and thanks for calling it, Steve. Get out here and get started for the day. See what the weather. See if it's still raining. I think Greg, and he's coming up to pick up one of his console radios I'd worked on for him. So looking for him to show up here in a little bit. 73s, and go ahead, Don. N4YN WB4NKL.
I'm about ready to go to sleep. So, any useful information out of me, rest for a while won't be forthcoming. Lord, no. Anyhow, I can't think of anything else. Let's see, I guess DRN checked out, so go ahead, Steve. This is my last one too. 73 spellers. N4YN.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, a little abrupt. N4YN and W4MEC, real good. Yeah, George, you were in the mud there. I was copying about 95% of that, but you were down there in the noise that time. But so the 940 is about the limit for that rig. Dynamite, yeah. I remember reading where they one time used sawdust to mix it with, and remember, I can't remember if it was Bonanza or Gunsmoke. There was an episode one time where it was all about transporting nitroglycerin, and of course, by the end of the movie, the whole wagon blew up. But I can't remember the details. I just remember it was one of those two shows. And you know, it's all tagged now. You know, all explosives are all have something mixed in, like a tag strip, so they know, you know, what the dynamite is and can trace it to the buyer, because you have to sign for it now. You got to have a permit, I guess, or a license. But I can remember, to be honest with you, I can remember when you could go to a hardware store and buy one stick and take it home and deal with an issue of stump or something like that. But I guess they don't do that anymore. So kind of the same reason they don't let anybody buy a machine gun, I guess. But there was a time when people were civil enough that you could buy a stick of dynamite for your own personal use, nothing else. But anyway, I'll hang around here at the end unless normally Steve calls a 73 round, so I'm not going anywhere. So K4JAL, W4MEC.
W4MEC, K4JAL. Well, I'm sure I'm getting out better now that I put it over on Operate. ART13's working good, and I finally got this stupid SDR console talking to the RSP. Problem I had on going to Windows 11, my peripherals drivers didn't hook up right. I did a lap link download of everything rather than, so I had to go back and redo a bunch of stuff. Talking about explosives, my dad and Big George Roberts back in the 30s, as students over at Mars Hill blew the end off the science building, trying to manufacture something, probably nitro. Dad had gone back for more chemicals, and Big George took the brunt of it, but my granddaddy had to pay for the building. So there you go. N4LQ, K4JAL. Over to you, Steve.
All right. Laplink, man, I haven't heard about that for 30 years. Is that that's the one where you used to use a serial cable or a parallel cable. One, I think you could use either one, transfer files back and forth. But I didn't know anybody still used that. Well, that's cool. This is N4LQ from the old friends net, along with Sleepy Don, N4YN. Wake up, Don. And, well, it's real interesting. I've learned a lot this morning. Man, I didn't know about the Dewey. I used the library, and the numbers, I was familiar with that, but I never called it anything. It was just a number, catalog number or something. Let's see, Buddy. I think the answer to your question from George was yes in the affirmative. The modulator he thinks came from you. So if you're listening, but I think you said 73, so I'm not even sure you're here. Well, anyway, well, let's see. SDR console, that's what I'm using right now to go up to YouTube with, but I wasn't copying too well. I could see the carrier from George, and I just couldn't understand what he was saying, and he was coming through on the HQ110 loud and clear, not moving the S-meter much, but I could understand him, and that's interesting. That doesn't seem to be the case with like sideband or CW. It seems like the SDRs do a really, really good job of, especially compared to an old rig. You know, there's no drift, no problem with selectivity and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to AM, it's hard to beat a diode detector, and I'm just not sure why. Maybe somebody in the SDR business could explain that to me. Well, we'll go around one more time. I've lost track. Let's see. Dave's gone, Buddy's gone, George is gone. Let's see if Cliff, are you still there, Cliff? WB4NKL, N4LQ? Oh, you're back? Okay, well, go ahead and do it. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay, well, I just had a couple of other comments. It's easy to make nitroglycerin as long as you know what you're doing. It's not very hard, and it's a very powerful explosive, and it's very sensitive. And an engineer by the name of George Marbury found out how to handle nitroglycerin in a safe way, and so he was manufacturing under contract up in the north, around North Adams, Massachusetts, to blast the Hoosick Tunnel, and they were using black powder. And I've got a book on that. Tells how much they improved their speed of going through the ground using nitroglycerin as opposed to black powder. Very interesting. But he found out that if you froze it and transported it in a frozen condition, that it was much safer. It was thought that it was more sensitive when frozen, but turned out to be incorrect in an accident that he had, a safe accident. But I thought that was rather interesting. There's a lot of interesting stories about nitroglycerin in the books on explosives. But I will say 73 and turn it over to Cliff. WB4NKL. And I got your information about the modulator. Yeah, I heard George. WB4NKL, WB4ARK.
Well, I guess Cliff's gone. Don is gone, I think. Are you still there, Don? I guess he went back to sleep. Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay. 4LQ in the group W4MEC. I see my antennas drying out. The SWR's coming up. But, yeah, buddy, I'm being humorous here, but you better be careful about all your books you have on explosives. It might be along the lines of, like, if you use the word nuke or nuclear bomb in an email, I think the NSA picks up on it to check you out. So if you've been checking those books out of the library or paying for them with a credit card online, they might be, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, kind of like that tracking stuff like that. But you never know. And I was going to make one comment about the AM rectifier, and that was what you just said there, Steve, about the diode as a rectifier for AM is the primary reason the FAA has stayed with AM for radio communications, and that was the simplicity of the detector. They wanted to eliminate as much things in line to fail as they could, but now that radios have become so much more complex and there is no more diode in there, they probably got a chip doing it. They're still sticking with it, I guess, just out of the massive amount of equipment that would have to be bought if they did change it. And it has a couple other pluses to still using AM, but again, with the new radios, just about every one of them is exactly on frequency. So when you used to get heterodynes to indicate that, you had more than one aircraft talking at the same time, and therefore you had to separate them and figure out who you were talking to. Now it's kind of like a party line. Two stations talking at the same time, and just you hear them both with equal clarity. So, again, the technology is has bypassed the old school safety mechanism that was in place, but we'll see. They made everybody get a new TV, so maybe they'll make everybody fly and get a new radio one day. 7-3 for now, N4LQ. Oh, Jimmy's still there. K4JAL in the group W4MEC.
W4MEC, K4JAL. Well, I imagine NSA heard your two buzzwords there, and they may start monitoring you too, Charlie. You know, the intelligence on that monitoring is probably not great. It's a government agency. I'm going to be careful and not say the buzzwords. LapLink is still alive. They have PC Mover now, and they'll probably do a bonanza business as all these people are running away from Windows 10 and don't want to have to manually transfer all their files. But if they're like me, they'll end up having to transfer their drivers because it didn't really work that well. I guess Dad and Big George were making nitroglycerin. That's what the story was anyway. Glad he didn't get killed. I wouldn't be radioing today. I guess I'll say 7-3 and turn it back over to Steve. N4LQ, K4JAL.
All right, as somebody said, I know nothing. 73s, everybody. It's been a good net. This is N4LQ closing down the old friend's net.